I wanted to know that the angels and the monsters and the devils and the lunatics really were that, instead of dressing like that. I wanted to know that the strangeness was more than a costume. And once that moment occurred, it was gone. It was gone. I couldn't see the illusion as anything but. I couldn't see the pageantry as anything but crepe paper strewn over walls, and it was never the same. And more, I found over the years that the reactions to me, to the oddities in the way that I speak, the ways that I think, the ways that I present myself, the ways that I conceptualize, and especially the way that I relate concepts to who I am, to my sense of identity, and I recognize these things as odd. The reactions to this had no more middle ground, no more moderation, and no more ease in them than I found anywhere else. That people were as likely in that context to use me as a screen onto which they could project things, big things bigger or stranger or more vivid or more volatile than they felt comfortable projecting on other people. That occurred every bit as often. And usually in almost exactly the same way. Up until about 3 years ago, I honestly can't say that I had any idea what envy was like. As a personal, internal experience, I just didn't. I just don't know that I've had any experience with it. Don't know that I've ever felt it myself. Up until, again, about 3 years ago. I was at a live performance of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now this was not the usual format where you have actors in front of the screen. They had a band and a full live cast for all of the singing parts, and they would project onto the screen the film, except when there was a song going on. When there was a song going on, they would pause the movie. The movie would drop off, and the band would pick up, and they would play and perform all of the musical numbers. It's a great performance, and I found out that a big burly kind of friend of a friend. I mean, you think of bear, and this guy is, well, kind of a polar bear, and never would have guessed it, but he makes an amazing Frank, It was just eerie how good he was. But towards the end of the performance, and of course, audience is singing along with all of this. Towards the end of the performance, there was there's "Don't Dream It, Be It," which is kind of an anthem for the Rocky community, and one of my friends had brought as a date a girl that I was aware of, like we had been in the same circles, but I had never really spent much time with, and And during that song, I glanced over, I saw her, and I saw more depth of conviction, more more belief and absolute confidence in the truth of that belief than I have seen spending 20 years growing up in and around churches. I have never seen conviction like that. And I loved her and I hated her so much in that moment. So much in that moment. Because she really believed it. And she felt she could really believe it in that moment. She could sing that song and absolutely believe it with every bit as much confidence as that her next breath would fill her lungs with oxygen instead of gravel. I've never seen conviction like that before or since. And I realized that for her, she was not singing something she wanted. She was not singing about something she wanted. And when she was regarding this subculture and a place in it, she was not singing about somewhere where she wanted to have a place. She was singing about somewhere where she did. And we socialized a bit after that, and she and my friend kind of went separate ways, and the romance was short-lived. I saw her a little bit after that, but shortly thereafter I kind of dropped out of the scene, and our interactions were very awkward and entirely my fault, because I could never really forgive her for having something that I wanted so much and for so long. And that, to a large degree, I had consoled myself in convincing myself that it was impossible. No one really believes it. No one really, really believes it. No one is really part of it. And yet, at least for the duration of that song, she was. And I don't know if she always felt that way or if she never felt that way again. But for a few minutes, she really was. And by that, by her conviction, I saw that it was possible. And I've yet to come to terms with that.